Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. Story number 1, The Bureau of Hero Retrieval, written by JCB112. Sometimes things just slip through the cracks. Sometimes people just go missing without a trace. Sometimes they end up somewhere, someplace else. A reality of swords and sorcery, a plane of fantastical beings, a place they don't belong, a place they should not belong, a reality that isn't theirs, and that's where we come in. We don't exist, at least officially, that is. The public, the world, heck, even the greater galaxy and all of its various alien denizens would not take our existence, and by extension, the existence of the multiverse resonance very lightly. For you see, reality isn't as solid as one would make it out to be. Think of it more as a fine mesh strainer than a solid slab of concrete. Sometimes things just slip through the mesh, things like a single quark or an atom. But rarely, and I do mean rarely, entire objects, your missing sock, a vanishing keyring, a lost pet, and even you. Yes, we don't officially exist, but to those that slip through the cracks, we are as real as it can get. And we are their only hope for returning home. We are the Department of Exoreality Acquisitions and Retrieval, and our mission is simple: to correct all the discrepancies in our reality, to bring back any vital pieces of technology, equipment, or even any sapiens that fall through the cracks, to ensure fidelity within our reality, and to prevent any other reality from seeping through. Indeed, quite a few of those newest amongst our ranks have another term for us, spoken in a tongue-in-cheek light, referencing a genre of fiction that has become synonymous with the concepts of a porous reality nominally focused on the misadventures of those that slip through. Isekais is what the youth call them, and from that stems our colloquial moniker, the Bureau of Hero Retrieval. We don't necessarily mind that descriptor. The fact that it's become so popular amongst the newest generation within our ranks just means that our plausible deniability campaigns are doing the job. It also doesn't hurt that fiction revolving around disappearances into other realities have been so commonplace throughout history. Take Alice in Wonderland, one of the most detailed but highly exaggerated accounts of reality displacement. Indeed, it remains one of the few tales where the displaced individual had managed to come back on their own force of will. The author had managed to write and publish it in our world, after all. Let it be known that it was not a bad drug trip that resulted in that amazing work of fiction, or should I say, non-fiction. But I digress. It has become clear that in recent years that the disturbingly large spike in E-class events had been reported not just by our own assets, but by the general public as well. We have taken precautions to prevent such stories from entering the public stream of consciousness, and the Division for Information Containment is being expanded as a result of this. We do not know the cause of this recent spike in E-class events, but what we do know is that it may perhaps simply be a temporary surge, if we are to believe the ebb and flow theory of multiversal resonance. Regardless, our divisions have been stretched thin as a result, and our temporal's Cascade Collider can only handle so many missions simultaneously. Think of it as a bungee cord. The machine tethers the operator to it and to our own reality. We can only pin so many tethers to a single anchor, not to mention the return cargo. Yet perhaps we are becoming too complacent in our operations, relying too much on this age-old theory to explain away what is becoming a matter of interstellar security. Recent reports from the debriefs of a majority of recent rescued displaced have begun to outline an exceedingly worrying trend. They claim that their displacement into other realities wasn't the result of just a mishap or a matter of chance, but a purposeful act of abduction using non-analogous scientific principles, i.e., magic. This places the department in a very precarious position. For the existence of reality displacement technologies in other realities poses as an existential threat to our own, indeed to the State Department and to the boss up top This is by textbook definition an act of wanton aggression towards our country, if not our reality. The kidnapping of our own citizens so effortlessly is not something to be trifled with, and I know a lot of warhawks are desperately itching to retaliate in some way. But as tempting as it may be to project our own perspectives onto this situation, we have to understand that such matters are more complicated than they seem. We still can't even trust the veracity of these reports, for instance. Not before we audit them, and auditing them is just what we've been authorized to do. Our operations had begun as mere scouting and observation missions, evolving into search and rescue and high-priority asset retrieval missions. The auditing of other worlds, other realities, to track down potential threats is perhaps the next logical step in the evolution of our department. Regardless of what may happen next, one thing is certain. The deer shall always remain as a mighty watchful eye, that invisible frontline guarding interests of our nation, and ensuring the safety of our denizens. So, should any force, malignant or otherwise, wish to challenge us in our unending mission, we shall not shy from responding in kind. End of story. Story number 2. Wait, there's another one under that. Written by Damaged Dice DM. A Polytran scientist had spotted it, a planet-sized construction speeding through space. Its design was unlike any ship they had seen, and it was definitely not natural. It was approaching Palatron, controlled space quickly, and the entire armada was sent out to intercept it and make contact to get it to alter course around their sovereign space. The armada set out traveling over 30 cycles before it intercepted the object, although in that time it had been the one to cover 90% of the distance between them. It seemed aware of the approach and slowed as they intercepted. A good sign, especially since upon closer inspection the surface of it seemed entirely made of weapon systems. Some they could identify, and some they could only guess what they did. They came to a stop, and so did the object, less than 1,000 kilometers from the armada. As it did, every sensor on every ship lit up, bombarding with information and communication from the object. Strange text and images appeared on their monitors, and high-definition scans were detected. Some of the weapon systems detected intrusion and had to be shut down to ensure they didn't retaliate automatically. Eventually, it seemed to figure out the communication systems, and simple text communication was established. High Command was given orders to demand the vessel reroute around their system and to inform them that they weren't allowed into their space. The Admiral relayed the message, fearing that it would just wipe them out. He did not seem to take offense. Instead, it offered to speak in person. He really didn't understand what that meant, but they agreed. Moments later, a glowing crack appeared along the surface of the vessel, and for lack of a better term, it opened up, revealing another vessel of similar make. About 75% of the size inside came out closer to the armada, still larger than most moons in the system. It was truly terrifying to the Palatron crews, as this one was also similarly absolutely bristling with weapons. Once it had cleared the inside of the first layer, it closed behind it. But, to the Palatron's surprise, the process repeated itself again, and shortly after again. Each time its size reduced, each time it came closer, leaving a trail of shells reducing in size, all excessively armored. This went on until it had closed a gap of less than 100 meters, and the vessel was less than 1/4 of the size of the small shuttle. It opened up, revealing another vessel, but unlike the other, this one was still armored, did not appear armed with any visible weapon systems. Its propulsion system fired, and it made its way slowly to the docking bay of the lead ship, where it was met by a Palatron contingent, including the Admiral. It was a strange vessel, oddly shaped like the rest of a sculpted tube, like a main body, with articulated joint tentacles, 2 on its left, 2 on its right. The lower one seemed larger, and based on the position it was flying in, possibly was the way it supports itself when not in space. It landed with a heavy thud. It must weigh more than it appeared. Once it touched down, its lower extremity started to propel it under a strange manner, much like a bipedal keep fur of the Palatron's home planet. It stopped drawing itself to its full height before jets of gas puffed from unseen locations, and it opened like the others, releasing a slightly smaller version of itself. Although this one wasn't mechanical, it was biological, having the same physicality of the vessel, wearing strange form-fitting clothes. It brought its small appendage up to a second, and used the others to manipulate the device on a large screen projected in the air, and a message in the Palatron's language appeared in mid-air. "Hello! Nice to meet you. My name is Ivan, and I'm glad to get to stretch my legs for a change." End of story. I would quickly like to thank our Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, it's difficult to pronounce, Lord Arishikal, Dragzoon WRE, and Arcadian. Thank you very much.